On this edition of Daditude BBQ and More, we're going to do the American classic pulled pork barbecue. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Daditude BBQ and More. Daditude BBQ and More.
Welcome back to Daditude BBQ and More. Today we're going to do that American classic pulled pork barbecue. But before I get started, I've got two things. First, you know what to do by now. I don't even have to tell you, but I'm going to remind you anyway. You slap that bell, you hit the subscribe button, and you give me some thumbs up so I can get this video out onto the algorithm and into the recommended section so everybody can become a great cook in the kitchen. Secondly, I've got to give a shout out to a few more of my students today on this video. I'm going to give shout outs today to BB, Otis, the Goat, and Fubu. Hope you all enjoy this video as well as those that I've had in class over the past few years. Now, as I've said, on this channel, we cut the flab and get straight to the meat. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get to the pulled pork barbecue. But to do that, we have to have a full-size pork shoulder. Now, this pork shoulder happens to be about 5.5 pounds. I've seen them go all the way up to 10 pounds, 11 pounds. I didn't need one that big for today's cook, so it's not going to take quite as long to cook this, but you might as well just put in a full day if you're going to do this, because it's going to take a full day of smoking for you to get this exactly where it needs to be for pulled pork barbecue. A couple of things I want you to take note of. First of all, this is a bone-in. Right here is the bone-in pork shoulder. Now you can get it boneless as well. I prefer bone-in. For me, it just gives it a little bit better taste. But I mean, it's a preference. If you don't want to take the time to pull out the bone at the end, that's fine. But pulling out the bone on this tells you whether you're going to have a great pulled pork or not at the end of the cook. So I'm excited and looking forward to showing you that here in just a little bit. The second thing I want to tell people about on this is that when you're cooking this, there is no set time. Just like the beef brisket the other day, we're going by internal temperature. And I'm going to do it much the same as I did the beef brisket flat. I'm going to smoke this to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. I'm going to pull it off, and then I'm going to wrap it, and then I'm going to put it back in the smoker until it gets to be about 200 to 205 degrees, just like the brisket. One thing I do want to talk about, though, before I get started seasoning this, is the fact that if you're going to do this, you have to be prepared for the stall. And what is the stall? Well, on a pork shoulder, typically this thing gets heated up pretty fast. Within the first couple of hours, you're going to see that temperature get up to about 150 to 155 degrees. And then all of a sudden, because of the thickness of the meat, it's just the temperature is going to stall, and it could stall up to 2 hours. So what I mean by that is it might be at 155 and it might go up to maybe 156, 157, and it stalls. And it stays at that temperature for a couple of hours. But don't fret, don't get upset, don't think you've done anything wrong. That is typical when you're doing a pork shoulder or even a beef brisket, but most of the time a pork shoulder, because as you can see on the secondary camera, this is a thick cut of meat, right? So it's going to take a while to cook it in the middle where we put the probes. So don't get too overexcited if you see the thing stalling out for a couple of hours. One way to overcome that, if you want and you're short for time, is to bump up the temperature. I'll be cooking today at 250 degrees Fahrenheit on the PitBoss 1600 Pro Series smoker. If you encounter a stall and you want to get over that stall quicker, you can bump the temperature up to 325 or so just until the stall is over. And I would recommend getting it back down to 250, because on these type of meats, slow and low is the way to go. Slow cooking time, low temperature. So with that being said, I also want to say one other thing. When we put it in the smoker today, this bone right here is going to go flush against the back of the smoker. This will tenderize not only the bone, but the meat around it, so it'll be easy to pull out at the end. I will try to show you what I'm talking about, but this goes flush to the back of the smoker. Now, with all of that information being said, the preparation for a pork shoulder is actually pretty easy. As you know, I love to use olive oil as my binder for all meats, except for a pork shoulder. For a pork shoulder, I'm going to use traditional yellow mustard. Now, I know some of you may not like yellow mustard, but it is not going to put a taste on it. it's going to make it a binder for the seasonings, and it's going to be a thick binder, so it really gets in there. And again, your meat's not going to come out tasting like mustard or anything like that. If you prefer olive oil, by all means use it. This is your preference, not mine. Today I'm going to use yellow mustard because I want to do it the right way, and I want to show you the right way to do it. But ultimately, your taste and your preference is what it's all about. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lather this in some mustard, and then I'm going to use my Daditude all-purpose seasoning and let it rest again about 15 minutes on each side before I put it in the smoker, and that's it. So you'll see as we go ahead and do this, on the secondary camera, you'll definitely be able to see this. And you can see here, I'm just going to lather it in, right? Get it all sides. You want to make sure you get all sides on this. I know, it's kind of messy, but in the long run, the taste will outweigh the messiness. Also, another thing that you will need to know is the fact that this is going to shrink up a little bit. So the meat that's this size right now is going to shrink up by about a quarter, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we take it out. Now, again, I'm going to take the Daditude seasoning, and what did I say last time on the brisket? I'm going to season high. And we season high so we can get all the meat covered very evenly. You don't want to go too low with that. And you can see I'm liberal about my seasonings, as always. And then we're going to go to the side. Make sure you get the sides. Bone inside. This side as well. And then this side. Now, what I'm going to do, as I said, and I'm going to get down into the crevice a little bit as well. I want the seasoning down in there. Don't want to miss any spots. Now, last time on the brisket, I said that when you're doing a pellet grill or a pellet smoker, electric pellet smoker, you don't necessarily want to put the fat side up. I've had a few questions on can you put the fat side up. So I'm going to cook it fat side up today just to show you it doesn't really ultimately matter. But I'll prefer it on the grate, the fat side. But again, this is totally your preference. So with that being said, the preparation for this is very easy. If you were doing a big one, say a 10-pounder, I would recommend starting it. If you wanted it for dinner, you would want to start that at about 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe earlier. Because like I said, it's going to go through a stall. Typically, 95% of these go through the stall. And then it's going to take longer and longer to cook. And what you're going to find out is it's usually about an hour a pound. So if you're looking at a 10-pounder plus the stall, you might be looking at a 12-hour smoke. Then you got to let it rest for an hour in a cooler. So, you know, you're looking at probably a 13-hour cook if you're going to do a huge one like a 10-pounder. Like I said, this is a 5.5-pounder. So I'm going to guesstimate it's going to take about 7 hours today. But again, I don't go by time. I just go by the internal temperature. So this is all it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it rest. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to season the other side. And before I put it out on the smoker, I'm going to get some close-up shots of this for you so you can see that the meat is sweating out. The seasonings have binded to the meat. And then we're going to go out there and put it on the smoker. And I'll show you how I put that on there with the bone side touching the back of the smoker. Until then, I'll see you soon. All right, guys. I wanted to give you a close-up of the seasonings that have been binded onto the meat now, onto the pork shoulder. Look at that. It's so nice. We can go all angles on that. And you see that this meat is ready to go out onto the smoker, which I'm going to go ahead and put it on there now. And then we will reconvene later today as the smoke and the cook continues. All right, guys, it's about time to take this off and wrap it. The bone is on the back here. So this is where I push it up against the back of the smoker. Like I said, I would show you. Just makes it so tender back there. So I'm about ready to take this off and wrap it, and I'll show you that process soon. All right, welcome back. As you can see from the secondary camera, this is turning out amazing. Now notice I did say the meat would shrink a little bit, and it has definitely shrunk up, but it is looking so good right now, and I cannot wait to tear this thing apart later and give it a taste test. If you were here right now and you could smell the smells I'm smelling, wow, I'm already hungry. Still probably have a few hours to go on it though. So The next important thing to do is the wrap. I have a cup over here holding the paper down so it doesn't fold back up on me, but I will be removing that soon. But again, we're going to wrap this just like the brisket last week. So if you missed the brisket episode, you can see that as well. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And what we're going to do, and you can see it on the secondary camera, I'm going to take one of these papers, I'm going to fold it over, and I'm simply going to tuck it underneath. Doesn't have to be perfect. But again, we're wrapping it so the bark stays intact. And then I'm going to bring this one over, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it underneath. That's the first step. We're going to do it again on this side, another wrap. We want to get it nicely tight on there as well. We want a good tight wrap. Underneath like so. Now, if you want to, and I probably will do this right now, you can cut off a little bit of that if it's overhanging too much. And then all we're going to do is fold it under. And we have a nicely, tightly wrapped pork shoulder. That easy, guys. Now, again, if you want to use aluminum foil, go right ahead. Aluminum foil works just as fine as long as you have the heavy-duty aluminum foil, not just the little cheap stuff that you buy at the store. It literally has to say heavy-duty on it. I prefer unwaxed butcher paper just because it keeps that bark intact. The aluminum foil tends to make it just a little bit more soggy, but still great nonetheless. Whatever works for you, go with it. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put this back on the smoker, still at 250. We're going to smoke this up. The internal temperature on this when I took it off was about 168 degrees. So we're going to go up another 30, 35 degrees before I take it off at 200 to 205 internal. Stay with me. I'll be back soon, and we're going to let this rest. When I get back, I'm going to show you how I'm going to let it rest tonight, and then we are going to dig in and have a party. I'll see you soon. All right, welcome back. The meat was at an internal temperature of 203 degrees, so I have taken it off, and now I'm ready to let it rest. We talked on the last video, on the brisket video I made, about why we let the meat rest when we take it out of the smoker, because the heat has been hitting it for so long, and in this case, it's been roughly 7 hours since I put it on the smoker. And so we want the meat to rest so everything gets softened up in there, and then it just pulls right apart, which will be the best part here in just a second. So anyway, normally on a larger cut of meat, like I said before on the last video, I would put it in an igloo cooler or something like that and let it rest for an hour. Because this is still a smaller cut of meat, I am going to go ahead and just use my meat blanket. Once again, I used this last time, and it worked out well. So I'm going to put it in the meat blanket for about an hour. And I would recommend using some grilling gloves to do this because it is still hot to the touch. But as you can see, it's very insulated in there. And so, again, recommended grilling gloves for sure. Got to have the right stuff if you're going to be a good cook in the kitchen. So basically, in this case, to let it rest, I'm just going to pick it up, put it in there, and then I'm just going to zip it up. And it's that easy. So guys, the meat blanket is going to let this sucker rest. And then in about 1 hour, I'm going to come back. I'm going to remove the bone, which will be the best part, really, because it's so cool how that comes out. However, after that, I'm going to shred it up. I'm so ready to show you how to do this, and I'm so ready to take the taste. It smells so good right now. So I will be back within an hour, and we'll get started. See you soon. All right, welcome back. Now is the moment of truth. Will the bone come out cleanly? And how is this going to taste whenever I shred it up? Guys, look at this finished product. This is amazing. You can see from the secondary camera just how nice this looks. And I'm ready to dig in. And I know everybody out there watching right now wants to see this. So I have the bone strategically placed here. I'm going to try to pull it over this way so the camera over here can see it. And literally, guys, look at this. And I'm going to try to get the meat off of it. Look at this. I mean, that bone literally, guys, just came out. I mean, how awesome is that? This huge bone just came right out. So anyway, now I know this is going to be a perfect pulled pork, because when this thing comes out so easily, that means it's so tender inside. So I'm going to put this back here. And then I'm going to show you that I have a few items here. I have some pads of butter, I have some barbecue sauce, and I have these guys. These guys are what we call bear claws. The easiest way to shred up some pulled pork is with bear claws. Now, you can do it by forks and whatever, but again, if you don't have the right equipment, sometimes it makes it a little harder. So you want to get the right equipment, and bear claws is something you might need, definitely need, I should say, for pulled pork. So let me get my fork out of the way because I'm ready to dig in, quite honestly. Now, we're just going to, and it's already falling apart, guys. You can already see it. Look, I'm just going to kind of dig into it this way. Look at this. I mean, goodness gracious almighty. I mean, is this awesome or what? And look, the best part is, well, I'll explain that in a second. But the fact of the matter is, the amount of meat you're going to get from this is unreal for the cost. So I'm just going to continue to shred it up here. And I'm not going to do it perfectly right here because I don't want to take up all the time. But I mean, it's going to cover the whole. It's going to cover the whole board. Look at this. I mean, it's just shredding. Can you believe how easily this shreds up? I mean, this is quintessential pulled pork at its best. And I'm just going to keep on going here since it's so easy. You might as well get it all. Look at this. This is unbelievable how good this looks and how good it smells. I mean, I can't even keep it on the cutting board because there's so much meat. Anyway, guys, I guess I'm going to stop it right about here. I mean, there's no reason to keep on shredding right now. It's kind of addicting though, you know, satisfying, I should say. So after a long day's cook, to be able to shred up the pork like this, I mean, this is restaurant quality. Now, I'm getting ready to make a taste here in just a second, but before I do that, I do have some pads of butter. Now, this does seem like it's still a little warm, so I'm going to put these on, actually sink these down in there. And then what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to kind of roll it around a little bit. Now, why am I adding some extra butter? That is the question. Because I haven't seen anybody really do that. I'm doing it because I like a little higher fat on my meat. And even though the pulled pork does have fat on it, I prefer high fat, high protein. It's just the way I eat. And it's been very successful for me health-wise. And it's been very good for me. So anyway, there it is. I've put the butter in there. I've tossed it around. And now, guys, I'm going to kind of take off these gloves. Put away these bear claws. And now, the fun part. We're going to take a little bite. Let's see. I like a little bit of burn in on mine. Trying to get enough here to where, there it is. Dip it in the barbecue sauce. Yes. I have to give myself an applause on this. This is the best barbecue. This tastes better than restaurant quality. It is so good. And for a fraction of the cost. You know what? If you go out and get a pulled pork sandwich at a restaurant, what is it, $9 or $10? I bought the entire pork shoulder, guys, for like $16. Okay, and look how much meat I have for $16. So if you can do it from home, it is the only way to go. It tastes succulent and so good and so smoky. So if you've had good smoked barbecue before, you know what I'm talking about right here. So this was an easy cook tonight. I loved making this for you, and I hope eventually people will start commenting in the comment section that they actually made the same dish as I. that I have. If you don't have a smoker, you can definitely cut the pork shoulder up into cubes and put it in like an Instant Pot or something like that. But that's a different type of show. Tonight, it's strictly about smoked barbecue. Now, before I go, I want to say a few things. I had a number of videos on this channel from a few years back. One of them was pulled pork. I have since removed those videos, and I am remaking these videos because I feel like, quite honestly, my production value is much higher these days, and I feel like I just do a better job in the kitchen than I did back then. And so I would like high quality videos versus even if they got like a lot of views back 2 years ago. So I am remaking some dishes that were previously on the channel to update them for the current time period. With that being said, also, I do want to remind you once again to slap that bell, hit the subscribe button, give me some thumbs up, and let's get this pork barbecue out on the algorithm and recommended section. And let's get a lot of likes on this video so everybody can be a good cook in the kitchen. You saw how easy it was today. The prep, the bone removal, the shred. Hey, yes, it may have taken about 8 hours total, but man, it's well worth it. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video today, and I'll see you next time on Daditude BBQ and More.
Daditude BBQ. He's the grilling dude. Daditude BBQ. You know how we do. Let it burn, smoking meats on that smoker grill. Clouds in the sky, you can smell the flavor in the air. Daditude.